What if you could traverse the landscape of your life completely unfazed, your inner world untouched by the incessant noise, the sharp edges of opinions, and the relentless cascade of daily frustrations that seem determined to chip away at your peace? The profound truth, often overlooked in a world addicted to external validation and reaction, is that the strongest among us are not those granted lives devoid of problems or challenges. Rather, they are the architects of their internal response, having simply mastered how they react to the storms that inevitably gather. Imagine navigating the complexities of existence with an unyielding sense of inner control, no longer feeling like a fragile vessel tossed about by the unpredictable tides of fleeting emotions, but instead standing firm at the helm, owning your emotional state fully and consciously. In a world that feels relentless in its ability to hurl distractions, criticism, and formidable roadblocks directly into your path, true unshakable strength isn't found in fighting every battle or silencing every dissenting voice. It lies, instead, in cultivating a powerful strategic inner indifference to what seeks to disturb your core equilibrium. When you permit the unpredictable currents of external events to dictate the state of your mood, the tenor of your thoughts, and the quality of your presence, you inevitably become a mere puppet, dancing to the erratic whims of forces entirely beyond your control. Your energy is dispersed, your focus fragmented, and your internal peace held hostage by the external world. But when you consciously and deliberately train your mind to remain unmoved, to pause and choose your response rather than merely reacting on impulse, you step into the rightful role of the master of your destiny. You reclaim your energy, sharpen your focus, and anchor your peace within. Consider the most influential figures throughout the annals of history. They commanded profound authority, respect, and impact, not by reacting impulsively to every slight challenge or piece of opposition, but by moving with an air of composed, deliberate control, as if they possessed a secret understanding, a hidden knowledge of how the world truly operates beneath the surface chaos. This is the subtle yet profoundly powerful consequence of mastering non-reaction. What you allow your mind to dwell upon, to fixate upon, to be controlled by, you ultimately become. If you constantly surrender to reacting emotionally to the world's inherent chaos, allowing anger, frustration, or fear to be your default state, you effectively surrender your vital power, your ability to think clearly, to act strategically, and to maintain your internal sovereignty. But if you consciously cultivate an unwavering, centered mindset, grounded in awareness and intention, you will find that the world around you begins, almost magically, to bend to your will, to align with your inner state. Control your mind, command your internal world, and you inevitably control your external reality. Beyond cultivating this core indifference to the external noise, we must confront the deep-seated, often unconscious conditioning that tightly binds our sense of self-worth, our happiness, and our peace to the ever-shifting opinions, external validation, and judgments of others. Society subtly, or sometimes not so subtly, whispers that our inherent value is somehow measured by how much energy and effort we invest in pleasing others, desperately seeking their fleeting approval, their nod of validation. But true, lasting freedom dawns the exhilarating moment you truly grasp, at a visceral level, that most of it simply doesn't hold significant weight, doesn't truly matter in the grand, unfolding scheme of your authentic life's journey. The relentless, exhausting pursuit of external approval is a profound, debilitating trap, one that places the keys to your happiness and self-esteem directly into the hands of others, rendering you dependent on validation that is inherently fickle, conditional, and ultimately unsatisfying. It's a quiet surrender of your intrinsic power, a subtle, insidious betrayal of your true self, as you find yourself instinctively bending, twisting, and contorting your behavior and even your beliefs to fit into molds designed by expectations that are not your own, that do not serve your highest good. The very moment you grant someone else the authority, the power to define your worth, you consciously or unconsciously relinquish control over your own life's direction, handing over the steering wheel. True confidence, the kind that resonates from within and commands genuine respect, isn't bestowed upon you by others. It is forged, piece by piece, in the crucible of self-reliance, in the quiet, unwavering knowing that your own internal opinion, your own self-acceptance, is the only measure that truly outweighs all external voices. Think of the most magnetic, compelling souls you've ever encountered. They don't beg for validation. They don't shrink themselves to fit into predefined boxes. They boldly own their truth, flaws and all, and that unshakable sense of self is the source of their immense, quiet power. Their strength lies not in being liked by everyone, but in their unwavering sense of self, their refusal to be swayed from their authentic path. While others are caught in the exhausting chase for external validation, they walk their own path unapologetically, guided by an inner compass and fueled by purpose. The pervasive need for approval often stems from deep-seated fears: fear of rejection, fear of judgment, fear of standing alone outside the perceived safety of the crowd. But here's the liberating truth. The more you chase external approval, the more you surrender your power, your authenticity, your control. You become a prisoner of perceived expectations, constantly calibrating your being to fit into external molds, and in doing so you inevitably betray the unique essence of who you truly are. Freedom isn't found in the impossible quest for universal acceptance, which is an illusion that will forever elude you. It's found instead in the profound, courageous act of releasing the impossible burden of trying to please everyone, of needing everyone to like you. No matter what you do, no matter how pure your intentions, someone will always have something to say. Some will admire you, others will criticize, and many won't care at all. So why squander your vital energy trying to appeal to every single person? Consider the individuals who have truly changed the world. Leaders, innovators, creators, artists. They were rarely concerned with fitting in or gaining popular consensus from the outset. They were driven by a powerful inner vision, a burning purpose, a fire within that compelled them forward. They faced relentless criticism, doubt, and opposition, yet they remained unfazed, anchored by a confidence built on something far stronger than fleeting public opinion. Their confidence was built on the solid bedrock of self-belief, on faith in their vision. That is what makes a person truly unstoppable. If you want to break free from the approval trap, start by asking yourself honestly and deeply, whose opinion truly matters in the context of my dreams, my values, my journey? More often than not, the loudest, most critical voices come from those who do not walk your path, who do not understand your struggles, who do not share your vision. Their words carry no real weight unless you make the critical mistake of assigning them power, of internalizing them as truth. Another crucial empowering step is learning to validate yourself from within. Acknowledge your own efforts, recognize your own progress, celebrate your wins, no matter how small they may seem to others. When you begin to consistently recognize and affirm your own inherent worth, external approval becomes a distant echo, increasingly irrelevant to your sense of self. You no longer need applause or external affirmation to feel worthy. You simply know you are. Detaching from the need for external validation does not mean becoming arrogant or dismissive of genuine feedback. It means standing firm and centered in who you are, respecting your own intuition, your own decisions, your own unique journey, and courageously refusing to let others dictate your path or define your potential. It means understanding at the deepest level that your intrinsic value is not something to be negotiated, debated, or subjected to external judgment. The very moment you consciously choose to stop seeking external validation is the moment you truly begin to live freely, authentically, and powerfully. You no longer filter your words, your actions, or your dreams through the restrictive lens of others' expectations. You move through life with a potent authenticity, a quiet boldness, and a deep sense of purpose that cannot be shaken by the shifting sands of public opinion. Not everyone will understand you, not everyone will support you, and that is more than okay. The ones who genuinely matter, the ones who are aligned with your spirit, will respect you not because you sought their approval, but precisely because you didn't need it, because you stood firm in your own life. So make the courageous choice, choose yourself, stand resolute in your beliefs, your values, your vision, your unique path. Release the burdensome need for external validation and embrace the profound, liberating power of self-acceptance. Only then do you become truly untouchable, not by gaining everyone's approval, but by transcending the need for it entirely. In this continuous journey of self-mastery, criticism is not merely an annoyance. It is an inevitable companion, often a test of your resolve disguised as an attack. Most people, conditioned to crave approval, crumble at the first sign of disapproval, letting comments pierce their self-identity, dictate their subsequent actions, and ultimately weaken their resolve, sometimes for extended periods. But pause and ask yourself, profoundly, why grant mere words such immense power over your inner state, over your direction? Criticism, at its core, is nothing more than words, opinions, perspectives. And crucially, these often come from individuals who haven't walked a single step in your unique journey, who lack the true context, the understanding, or the lived experience to genuinely judge your path or your efforts. The liberating reality is that criticism only possesses the power you consciously or unconsciously grant it. When you react emotionally to criticism with anger, defensiveness, hurt, or despair, you hand over the keys to your inner world, allowing the words of others to control you, to dictate your mood, to derail your focus. But when you consciously choose to filter criticism through the calm, clear lens of logic and reason, you remain in command of yourself, processing the information without surrendering your emotional sovereignty. The strongest individuals don't recoil from criticism as if struck by a blow. They receive it, assess it with a clear, detached mind, discerning what, if anything, is valuable for their growth. The constructive kind of feedback that genuinely aims to help you improve, and calmly discarding the rest. The destructive noise, often born of the critic's own jealousy, insecurity, lack of understanding, or misplaced negativity. Like a focused sculptor intently working on his masterpiece amidst the clamor of onlookers, some who admire, some who offer helpful suggestions, and others who simply mock his efforts, you must stay resolutely guided by your inner vision, your filtering out the noise that does not serve your creation, your evolution. When someone offers criticism, develop the habit of pausing and asking yourself dispassionately, does this person possess the genuine experience, the credibility, the understanding to truly judge me or my work in this area? If they do, if their feedback is rooted in expertise and a genuine desire to help, consider their words thoughtfully, extract the lessons and integrate them. If they don't, if their criticism stems from ignorance, malice, or their own limitations, then allow their words to pass through you without taking root. Dismiss them entirely. Not all voices deserve your precious attention or energy. The vast majority of unhelpful or destructive criticism comes from people who have never dared to attempt what you are doing, who have never stepped outside their own comfort zones. Their words are often merely reflections of their own fears, their own limitations, their own unfulfilled potential, not an accurate assessment of yours. Criticism, when viewed correctly, is fundamentally a test of your emotional resilience, a gauge of your inner strength. Weak-minded individuals react impulsively, becoming defensive, arguing heatedly, or retreating into debilitating self-doubt and paralysis. The strong, however, remain unmoved at their core. They acknowledge the criticism, process it, extract any potential value, but crucially, they never permit it to disrupt their inner peace or derail their direction. When you learn to respond to criticism not with emotional turmoil but with calm indifference, with a quiet, centered presence, you not only show the world that your confidence is unshakable, you are embodying your unshakable confidence. Consider the great minds of history, visionaries, leaders across every field. Every single one faced relentless criticism, their groundbreaking ideas doubted, their courageous decisions questioned, their character attacked, yet they pressed forward relentlessly, refusing to let outside noise deter them from their path. Their extraordinary ability to stand firm in the face of overwhelming doubt, opposition, and criticism is precisely what set them apart, what allowed them to change the world. They understood deeply that criticism is often not a barrier, but the inevitable price of progress, a sign that you are pushing boundaries, challenging the status quo. If you want to develop this powerful mindset towards criticism, commit to practicing detachment regularly. The next time someone criticizes you, pause. Do not react immediately from emotion. Instead, analyze the words dispassionately. Is there objectively any value in what they are saying? Is there a lesson here? If yes, extract the lesson and learn from it, then let the rest go. If not, if it is merely noise or negativity, dismiss it entirely, letting it bounce off the armor of your inner peace. When you master this habit, you liberate yourself from the immense emotional burden of constantly seeking external approval or fearing external judgment. Another powerful approach is cultivating deep self-conviction. When you truly, unequivocally believe in your path, in your vision, in your inherent worth, external opinions lose their power, their ability to wound or control you. Your confidence emanates from within, not from the precarious balance of external approval or disapproval. The moment you realize this truth, you become powerfully immune to shallow, unhelpful criticism. The world will always have something to say about you. Some will praise you, others will doubt you, many will misunderstand you. But in the end, on your journey, the only opinion that truly ultimately matters is your own informed, self-respecting one. True power in relation to criticism lies not in avoiding it, but in the ability to hear it, evaluate it rationally for any kernel of truth or utility, and then move forward with unwavering focus, unburdened by the noise. So the next time someone criticizes you, remember, it is simply noise. Learn from it if it contains value, but never ever let it define you or derail your spirit. The strongest people do not fear criticism. They wield it wisely as a tool for growth, or they ignore it completely when it serves no purpose but to distract or diminish. The world will also relentlessly test you with pressure, those intense circumstances that expose vulnerabilities, that push you to your limits. Some people break under pressure, others fold and retreat, but the strong, they remain remarkably unshaken, seemingly unfazed by the intensity. Why? It is not because they possess some innate magical resilience absent in others, but because they consciously and diligently prepare their minds long before the storm ever gathers on the horizon. They understand, fundamentally, that pressure is not an anomaly, an unexpected deviation from a comfortable norm. It is a certainty, a predictable, unavoidable part of the journey towards any worthy goal. And crucially, when you expect challenges, when you anticipate difficulty, you stop being surprised and overwhelmed by them when they arrive. The profound secret to remaining composed under pressure lies in actively detaching from the need for external control, from the illusion that everything should go according to your precise plan. You must accept this core truth. Not everything will go according to plan. People will inevitably disappoint you. Unexpected obstacles will appear. Unforeseen setbacks will inevitably come your way. But you, having trained your mind in self-mastery, will not react emotionally to these deviations from the expected path. Instead, you will respond with clarity, with strategy, with calm, deliberate calculation. Most people crack under pressure precisely because they resist reality. They operate under the unconscious assumption that life should be smooth, predictable, and comfortably within their grasp. And when life in its unpredictable nature proves otherwise, they panic, they complain, they freeze, they become paralyzed by the perceived loss of control. But those who have consciously trained themselves to embrace uncertainty, to accept the inherent unpredictability of the external world, they adapt, they pivot, they move fluidly with the chaos, leveraging its energy rather than futilely struggling against its irresistible force. Think of a seasoned warrior standing before a formidable battle. He does not enter the fray expecting an easy, straightforward fight. He anticipates resistance, ambushes, unexpected maneuvers, unforeseen threats lurking in the shadows. Yet he remains remarkably composed amidst the chaos, because he has already, in his training and in his mind, accepted the brutal reality of conflict. He does not waste precious energy wishing for ease or safety. Instead, he focuses solely, completely on execution, on strategy, on the actions within his control in that moment. You must adopt this same warrior's mindset towards the pressures of life. The world will test you. It will throw stress, failure, and doubt directly into your path. But if you have conditioned yourself mentally and emotionally to remain composed under pressure, nothing external will truly shake you to your core. While others scramble in reactive panic, consumed by fear and confusion, you will move with deliberate precision, guided by inner calm. You will not react to the pressure. You will respond strategically to the situation. There is immense quiet power in mastering control, not over the uncontrollable external events, but over the one thing you can control yourself, your state of mind, your response. When you release the rigid demand that things must go perfectly, when you accept that messiness and difficulty are part of the process, you become powerfully unstoppable. When you truly understand that pressure is not a bug, but a feature of any significant endeavor, you cease fearing it. Instead, you see it for what it truly is, an opportunity, a crucible to refine your composure, to test your training, to strengthen your inner resilience. Observe the greatest leaders throughout history, the most unshakable individuals in times of crisis. They do not flinch in the face of chaos. They do not crumble when things go wrong, when plans unravel. Instead, they exude an aura of calmness, of certainty, of focused control that stabilizes those around them. This is what makes them stand out, what inspires confidence in others. People look at them and wonder, how does nothing seem to faze them? How do they remain so composed while everyone else is falling apart? it is because they have trained their minds diligently and consistently to expect difficulty. They have mentally rehearsed their reactions, conditioned their responses before the test even arrives. They understand deeply that emotions, particularly fear and panic, cloud judgment and erode effective action, and so they consciously detach from unnecessary feelings, prioritizing logic, clarity, and strategic thinking over impulsive panic. And in doing so, they maintain a powerful advantage that most people caught in reactivity will never possess. To build this level of internal control, start by shifting your perspective on pressure. See it not as a threat, but as a game, a challenge, a test of your discipline and training. When faced with a stressful situation, consciously challenge yourself to remain composed. Observe your emotions rising, the tension, the anxiety, the urge to react without letting them dictate your action. The more you practice this conscious observation and non-reactive response, the more natural and automatic it becomes. Another essential practice is diligent preparation. The strongest individuals do not simply wait for pressure to arrive and hope for the best. They train for it. Mentally rehearse worst-case scenarios. Visualize yourself navigating challenges calmly and effectively. Condition your mind to remain steady and focused under stress. When you do this consistently, nothing catches you completely off guard. You become a strategist, capable of adapting rather than a reactor caught in the headlight. Most people go through life fundamentally unprepared for adversity, relying on fragile hope rather than robust discipline and preparation. They expect things to work in their favor, and when they inevitably don't, they collapse under the weight of disappointment and pressure. But those who train their minds for adversity, they do not break, they do not fold. They remain standing, anchored in their inner strength, unaffected at their core by the external storm. So the next time pressure builds, when the stakes are high and the tension mounts, remind yourself, this is my test, my moment to prove my training, my opportunity to demonstrate control. While others panic, you will breathe. While others react impulsively, you will calculate. And when the storm passes, when the pressure subsides, you will still be standing untouched, unshaken, unbreakable, a testament to the power of a prepared mind. And perhaps the deepest, most liberating layer of this profound self-mastery lies in the often counterintuitive art of letting go of what you cannot, genuinely cannot, control. So much of human suffering stems from relentless, futile attachment to specific outcomes that may never manifest, to rigid expectations of how people should behave or how life must unfold, to clinging tightly to things, situations, and people that are ultimately outside of our direct influence. We grip desperately to what we think should happen, to a predetermined script we believe life should follow, and when the messy, unpredictable reality inevitably diverges from our desires, we experience profound pain, frustration, disappointment, and suffering. But true, enduring mental and emotional strength is found in the radical ability to release that grip, to open our hands and allow reality to be what it is. Picture a mighty river flowing with immense power and grace. It encounters obstacles, boulders, fallen trees, narrow gorges, but it never resists them, never fights against their presence. It does not demand that the rocks magically move out of its way, nor does it stop its flow when met with resistance. Instead, it adapts. It flows around, over, or through, finding a way forward, always moving, always powerful. That is precisely how you must approach life and the challenges it presents. Some things will happen, or will not happen, regardless of how much you stress, worry, or try to force them into submission. The job offer that never materialized, the relationship that ended despite your best efforts, the unexpected setback that completely upended your plans. In these moments, you have a fundamental choice. You can either resist the reality of the situation, railing against the unfairness, clinging to how it should have been, and thereby suffer immensely, or you can choose consciously to adapt, accept the new reality, and move forward, redirecting your energy towards what is possible now. The choice is always ultimately yours alone. Letting go is not an act of passive resignation or giving up on your dreams. It is an act of profound wisdom and active self-preservation. It is about consciously shifting your focus, your energy, your precious mental resources towards what is genuinely within your power to influence your thoughts, your actions, your attitude, your effort in the present moment. Clinging desperately to expectations, to outcomes you cannot guarantee makes you incredibly fragile, vulnerable to the slightest deviation. It keeps you trapped in a debilitating cycle of frustration, endlessly replaying past events, agonizing over what you could have done differently, fixating on what should have been. But when you courageously embrace the reality that some things, perhaps many things, are simply beyond your direct influence, you liberate yourself from an immense burden of unnecessary suffering. Think of the strongest, most resilient people you know. They are rarely the ones who fight hardest against the inevitable currents of life. They are instead the ones who remain calm, centered and adaptable in the face of uncertainty. They have mastered a healthy detachment, not from engaging fully with life, but from the pervasive, often unconscious illusion of having complete control over every outcome, every circumstance, every person's behavior. They understand deeply that life is inherently unpredictable, a tapestry woven with threads of certainty and uncertainty, and that true, enduring peace comes from flowing with its currents, navigating its turns with skill and adaptability, rather than futilely fighting against its irresistible force. Most people spend an extraordinary amount of energy trying to force outcomes, trying to bend the external world to their will, and they attach their happiness and self-worth precariously to achieving specific predefined results. If things go exactly as planned, they feel satisfied, sometimes even validated. If not, they fall apart, feeling like failures. This dependency on external outcomes is a weak, vulnerable way to live, leaving you constantly at the mercy of circumstance. True strength comes from being adaptable, from possessing an inner resilience that is not tied to external results. When you detach from rigid expectations, when you release your white-knuckled grip on how things must be, you develop an inner resilience that makes you profoundly unstoppable. No single event, no individual disappointment, no unexpected setback, however challenging, can truly break you, because your sense of self, your purpose, your peace, is not tethered to controlling the uncontrollable external circumstance. The key, the master key to letting go, is conscious awareness. The next time you find yourself holding on to something too tightly, an outcome, a person, a past hurt, a future worry, an expectation of how someone should be, pause. Become aware of the tension, the resistance within you. Ask yourself, honestly and calmly, is this right here, right now, truly within my direct control? If the answer after honest reflection is no, then consciously choose to release it. Do not waste your precious finite energy on what you cannot change, on battling against reality. Instead, consciously redirect that energy towards something that moves you forward, towards something that is within your sphere of influence, your next right action, your attitude in this moment, your continued effort. Detachment is not an inherent trait. It is a skill, a muscle that requires consistent practice to strengthen. Start small. Practice letting go of minor frustrations that arise in your day. The long line at the coffee shop, the slow traffic on your commute, the unexpected change in plans that disrupts your schedule. Observe, without judgment, how freeing it feels to simply not react emotionally, to not allow these trivial external circumstances to dictate your inner mood. Over time, as you strengthen this mental muscle, begin to apply this powerful mindset to bigger challenges, to more significant disappointments. Some people, observing your calm demeanor amidst chaos, may mistake your detachment for indifference or apathy, but they are profoundly different states of being. Indifference is a passive refusal to engage with life, a state of not caring. Detachment, on the other hand, is a deep, active understanding that while you can and should participate in life fully, with passion and purpose, you do not have to be ruled by its inherent uncertainties, its unpredictable turns, or its potential for disappointment. You can care deeply about your goals, your relationships, your experiences, pursuing them with immense energy and commitment, but you do not have to suffer unnecessarily when things do not go exactly as planned. The moment you consciously choose to let go of what you can't control is the moment you become truly untouchable in the most profound sense. You walk through life with a quiet, centered sense of peace, a resilience that others admire from a distance, but often cannot understand because they are still locked in the struggle for external control. While they are consumed by frustration, anger, and disappointment over things outside their power, you remain steady, anchored, unshaken at your core. They wonder how you do it, why nothing seems to disturb your composure, your peace. The simple, powerful truth: you have simply mastered the liberating art of letting go. So, Stop resisting the reality of what is. Accept the present moment. Adapt skillfully to what comes your way. And above all, remember this fundamental truth. The strongest minds do not cling to outcomes. They flow. Just like the river, they move forward, finding their path, their power, their peace, untouched by the obstacles that stand in their way, because they have learned the wisdom of non-resistance and the strength of acceptance. In a world saturated with relentless noise, constantly vying for attention, silence, when used intentionally, is the ultimate power move, a strategic weapon profoundly misunderstood by most. People talk, often excessively, to fill perceived empty space, to desperately gain validation, to nervously prove something about themselves, to assert their presence. But the most powerful individuals, they do not speak unnecessarily. They cultivate the profound discipline of strategic silence. They listen intently, they observe keenly, they calculate thoughtfully, gathering information, and only when they finally choose to speak, after careful consideration, does every single word they utter carry immense weight, commanding attention not through volume or insistence, but through presence, intention, and perceived value. Silence, particularly in moments where speaking is expected, makes people uncomfortable. It creates a subtle void that others instinctively want to fill, and in doing so, it forces them to confront their own thoughts, to second-guess themselves, to analyze your stillness, to wonder what profound thoughts might lie beneath your calm, quiet exterior. In virtually any interaction, the one who speaks less, the one who is comfortable with pauses, often holds a subtle yet significant edge in control. Words, once spoken, reveal, but strategic silence conceals, allowing you to gather information while keeping your own counsel. When you master the art of strategic silence, you powerfully shift power dynamics in your favor, gaining influence not through force or volume, but through presence, observation, and measured communication. Most people are so deeply uncomfortable with silence, so accustomed to filling every auditory gap, that they nervously rush to fill it with explanations, justifications, unnecessary details, exposing their thoughts and intentions prematurely. But when you deliberately hold back your words, when you embrace the power of the pause, you compel others to reveal themselves in their eagerness to break the silence. The more they speak in that void, the more they expose their thoughts, their insecurities, their true intentions, their underlying motivations. Meanwhile, you remain a mystery, an enigma, and in that cultivated mystery lies a potent, compelling form of power. Imagine being in a high-stakes negotiation. The person across from you presents their initial offer, expecting an immediate counter-proposal, an immediate reaction. But instead of speaking instantly, you pause. You let the silence stretch, perhaps for just a few uncomfortable seconds, or longer if the situation allows. The longer you wait in that calm stillness, the more unsettled they become. They start second-guessing their offer, their strategy. They begin to feel the pressure of the silence. Often they will start talking again, filling the void with unsolicited explanations, offering concessions, proposing better terms, revealing their desperation to break the tension you have created. Why? Because strategic silence creates tension, and tension, when wielded correctly, creates powerful leverage. The same principle applies in everyday interactions, even confrontational ones. The next time someone attempts to insult or provoke you, stay silent. Most people delivering insults expect an immediate emotional reaction: anger, defense, retaliation. When you meet their provocation not with words or emotions, but with calm, unwavering silence, you effectively rob them of the power they sought to wield over you. They start wondering if their words landed, if they had any effect. They are forced to confront their own negativity in the echo chamber of your stillness, rather than feeding off your reaction. Your silence in that moment forces them to deal with their own emotions, their own projected negativity. Furthermore, silence is an unparalleled, underutilized tool for observation and understanding. When you talk less, you inevitably notice and absorb more of the world around you. You see the subtle hesitation in someone's voice, the nervous shift in their posture, the unconscious micro-expressions on their face, the contradictions hidden within their spoken word. Most people miss these crucial cues because they are too busy speaking, too preoccupied with formulating their next sentence or projecting their own image. But when you master strategic silence, you become a highly effective strategist. You gather invaluable information, reading the room, reading the people, while revealing nothing crucial in return. There is a profound reason why the world's most influential figures, the true power brokers, are rarely the loudest, most boisterous individuals in the room. They are the ones who choose their words with surgical precision, who understand the weight of their utterance. They do not waste their finite energy on meaningless chatter, on proving themselves through volume. They understand, intrinsically, that speaking less does not in fact mean knowing less. On the contrary, it often signifies knowing significantly more, having listened and observed with discernment. If you want to cultivate this powerful presence and influence through silence, commit to practicing restraint in your daily interactions. The next time you're in a conversation, consciously pause before speaking, observe the room, listen far more than you talk. Allow others the space to reveal themselves first. The less you say unnecessarily, the more people will be compelled to lean in, to pay attention, drawn by your stillness. And when you finally choose to speak, your words will land with an impact and carry a weight that others' constant stream of noise never will. Another potent way to harness the power of silence is to embrace it deliberately in moments of high emotion or external pressure. When you feel anger surging within you, choose silence instead of lashing out. When you are met with an insult or a demand for an immediate emotional response, deliberately delay your verbal reaction. Embrace the pause. The ability to control your speech, to choose stillness in intense situations, is perhaps the ultimate demonstration of inner discipline, and discipline, quietly and undeniably, commands profound respect. Powerful people are not reactive. They do not allow their fleeting emotions to dictate their words or their actions. They understand that silence can be a powerful response in and of itself. A pause can communicate more than a hurried sentence. A moment of quiet can fundamentally shift the entire dynamic of an interaction. The next time you find yourself in a situation where someone fully expects you to react, where they are trying to elicit an emotional response, don't. Stay silent. Let them fill the void. Let them wonder. Let them reveal themselves fully in their discomfort, and simply observe how effortlessly the power dynamics shift dramatically in your favor. In a world where everyone is desperate to be heard, desperate for external attention and validation, the one who cultivates the discipline of strategic silence often holds the most profound, enduring influence. Master silence, and you master a crucial key to inner and outer control. Ultimately, your mind is not just an organ. It is the ultimate battlefield, the single most important arena where the victory or defeat of your life's aspirations is decided. The thoughts you consciously or unconsciously allow to take root, the emotions you choose to entertain and empower, the reactions you permit to run on autopilot. These internal choices, made moment by moment, will fundamentally determine whether you win or lose in the grand journey of becoming who you are meant to be. Every doubt that creeps in, every fear that whispers limitations, every hesitation that paralyzes action, these are not just fleeting feelings, they are potential enemies, inner adversaries that must be recognized, confronted and conquered, not through brute force, but through conscious awareness, consistent discipline, and strategic mental training. The strongest individuals are not some superhuman beings who never experience negative thoughts or face challenging emotions. They are simply those who have built an internal fortress, a citadel of self-command, and who courageously refuse to be controlled or dictated by those internal adversaries. To cultivate an unshakable mind, a mind capable of withstanding the storms of life, you must deliberately build powerful, supportive mental habits, embedding them into your daily routine. Practice gratitude, actively seeking out things to be thankful for, to counter the insidious pull of negativity and scarcity. Cultivate discipline, consciously choosing intentional action over laziness, discomfort over the path of least resistance. Develop detachment, practicing the crucial skill of separating yourself from outcomes, from the emotions of others, from the external chaos, thereby eliminating the source of unnecessary suffering. Just as the body grows physically stronger and more resilient through repeated resistance, through consistent effort in the gym or on the track, the mind becomes emotionally and mentally resilient through daily intentional training and consistent practice of these habits. You cannot realistically expect mental toughness, the ability to remain composed and strategic, to miraculously appear in moments of intense crisis if you have not diligently conditioned yourself for it day in and day out. in the quiet moments as well as the challenging ones. Every single day presents opportunities to train your mind. Every minor frustration is a chance to practice being unfazed, to pause before reacting, to breathe deeply before responding, to consciously choose your internal state regardless of the external circumstances. Most people navigate life as unconscious slaves to their immediate emotions, reacting impulsively out of habit, acting out of knee-jerk fear, surrendering quickly to frustration or anger at the slightest provocation, allowing their inner world to be a chaotic mess. But the ones who cultivate mastery over their minds, they control everything that truly matters: their perspective, their response, their focus, their energy, their direction. This is how warriors think. This is how effective leaders operate. They do not allow distractions, disappointments, or insults, however sharp, to shake them from their core purpose or disrupt their internal equilibrium. They move through life with a profound, deep-seated sense of purpose, an inner calm, a quiet power that others observing from the outside cannot comprehend because it is not dependent on external circumstances. And because of this internal mastery, this unwavering self-command, they become outwardly unbreakable, resilient against life's inevitable blows. Understand this fundamental truth: mental strength, true resilience, is not forged in grand dramatic battles. It is meticulously built, piece by piece, in the small, consistent actions of your everyday life. It is in the quiet victory of waking up early when your body screams for more sleep, in the conscious choice to stay silent and composed when every impulse screams to argue or retaliate, in the persistent act of pushing forward with discipline towards your goals when everything within you yearns to quit and seek comfort. The mind, like a muscle, grows stronger through facing resistance, through being challenged and pushed beyond its current limits. Every challenge you face, every moment of discomfort you endure, every emotional trigger you navigate consciously, is an opportunity to strengthen your mental fortitude. One of the most powerful mental habits you can develop, foundational to all others, is active detachment. When you learn to create a conscious, deliberate separation between yourself, your core awareness, your true self, and your immediate fleeting emotion, from the unpredictable outcomes of external events, from the chaos generated by others, you gain an almost unfair advantage over those who are constantly swept away and controlled by their feelings and circumstances. Detachment in this context does not mean indifference or a lack of caring. It means profound internal control. It means understanding with absolute clarity and conviction that while you cannot control the external world, its events or its people, you always have the sovereign power to control your response to it, your interpretation of it, and your subsequent actions. Imagine a powerful storm raging. Most people caught in it are immediately swept up in the winds, tossed around helplessly by the circumstances, struggling futilely against forces they cannot control, exhausting themselves in resistance. But those with trained, unshakable minds, they stand still at their core, grounded within themselves, like a mighty tree with deep roots, allowing the storms, winds, and rain to pass around them. They do not waste their vital energy fighting the uncontrollable external elements. They conserve their strength, their focus, their presence for what truly matters, maintaining their internal state and taking deliberate action where possible. Another crucial element of building mental resilience is cultivating unwavering discipline. The untamed mind will always seek comfort, ease, familiarity, and the path of least resistance. This is its natural default setting. This inherent tendency towards comfort is precisely why most people never achieve true strength, realize their potential, or achieve significant goals. They consistently give in to distractions, procrastination, self-doubt, and the immediate gratification of comfort. But discipline is the powerful forge, the internal alchemist that rewires the mind's default settings. When you consistently choose discipline over comfort, when you prioritize your long-term vision over immediate ease, you fundamentally reshape yourself into someone who is reliable, capable, and ultimately unstoppable. Start small, build momentum, commit to daily habits, however minor they seem, that reinforce your mental strength. Meditate for a few minutes each day to sharpen your focus and awareness. Engage in consistent exercise to reinforce discipline and build physical resilience that mirrors mental strength. Read regularly to expand your perspective and fortify your mind with wisdom. Keep your word to yourself. No matter how small the promise, building internal trust. Over time, these seemingly small, consistent acts of discipline and conscious choice accumulate into something monumental: an unshakable mind, a powerful internal citadel capable of withstanding virtually anything life throws your way. The world will test you. People will challenge you. Life will inevitably throw obstacles, disappointments, and crises directly in your path. But the moment you consciously master control over your mind, nothing external can truly shatter your core. Nothing can fundamentally shake you. You will move through life not as a victim of circumstance, but with a level of confidence, inner control, and quiet power that few ever achieve. And when others observe your composure, your resilience, your ability to remain steady, so unbothered, so composed amidst the very storms that break others, and they ask you how you do it, why nothing seems to disturb your peace, you will know the simple, profound answer. You trained for this. You built this inner strength, piece by deliberate piece, day by consistent day, and because it is built within you, nothing and no one external can ever take it from you. This internal citadel, this unwavering mastery of self, is the true enduring power that will forever set you apart. It is the difference between being swept away and standing firm.